to say good morning to everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, I'm Bolivia Moore. I'm the executive director for the South Holland Business Association. And I'd like to welcome every one of you to our multi-chamber event, part 3 of 4, Pivot and Reset. As we're all aware, nothing is going to be business as usual during this time of COVID-19. However, you can think about different ways you can readjust, pivot, and reset to make your business and move forward. So right now, I'd like to take a minute to acknowledge all of our partners like Chamber 57, which is Executive Director Percy Scott, Southland, Chicago Southland Chamber Executive Director Sherry Hensley, South Suburban Small Business Association board members Nancy Burrows and Joyce L. Kelly, Park Forest Chamber Sandra Zollner, who's with the Economic Department over there, the Harvey Area Chamber, which is the President Andrea Paxton, our Lynwood Chamber Executive Director Doranita Tyler, and Lansing Chamber Executive Director Amy Todd. SHBA would like to extend a big heartfelt thank you to you guys for being a participant and helping to get the word and being our partners, okay? The next thing I'd like to make sure I let people know too, for our audience, there's a chat box that's on your Zoom. So we are gonna have questions and answers that you can ask through your chat box. So if you have something you want to say, chat it, put it in there, and then Gwen will make sure that as she wraps things up, or maybe even during her conversation, if she sees something, to address as many of those as she can, okay? Now, the big part, which is today's speaker, Gwendolyn J. Stirk. She's an attorney at law and has been practicing family law since 1989 and successfully started her own law firm, Stirk Family Law Group, PC, in 2015. Gwendolyn and her team believe in a holistic approach to the practice of family law and strive to not only service a client's legal needs, but also help manage a client's emotional and overall well-being. Ms. Stirk and the family law team work hard to establish connections with a vast network of counselors, support groups, and various other non-traditional service providers who the team regularly partners with to assist clients on a case-by-case basis. Stirk Family Law Group strives to provide clients with the tools they need to be empowered by their life changes and be encouraged to move on with integrity and dignity. So at this moment, without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Gwendolyn J. Stirk.
Well, thanks very much. Boy, what exciting times to be here. And Kelly Garber of our office is here as well. And we're so happy to be able to share some information. And I got to tell you, we're here today to learn from you too, because I got some questions. So at the end of the day, I want to know what insight you can give to us, because I think that the pandemic that we're going through is life-changing, and it's going to be long-term with us. I don't think it ends. I think it's going to be long-term, and we have to figure out how other people are reacting, what you've learned from it. So it's not just about our presentation today. We're looking to learn from you as well. You know, I went back in preparing for the pivot and reset argument, and I went through, and I'm not going to give you all the history, because sometimes in the middle of the night I get up and I'm reading about, well, what happened in the past when certain things changed, you know, and with business structure, and how do we look at it and how do we go forward? I'm going to give you the shortened synopsis version because I want to start in the 80s. So, you know, and I'm talking about shifts now, and I'm just going to give a little historical perspective because I think it makes us think about it differently. So some of you are from the 80s and forward, and service was the bedrock of the community. I don't know if you remember that, but yes, it was an evolving time, but there still was a lot of service. How many of you remember service merchandise?
Oh yeah.
Remember? And you'd go to the store and it'd come down on a cart and you'd get a little piece of paper, you'd write with your little pencil, you'd go to the end of the store, you'd pay for it, and it would come down on a conveyor belt, and I'd get so excited. I thought it was great. I have to tell you that I think that service merchandise was before its time, and maybe it didn't last because it really was novel and new, and whoever created it, and I have no idea who that is, I'm just saying when I look back, I really miss service merchandise. But it talked about service, and they really serviced you in a different way, because you could go see the product, You could touch and feel it. Remember, you could go there, you could get jewelry at the counter, you could buy luggage, they had a lot of home goods, and then you go to the checkout and it would come down. But service was there and they really tried to take care of you. Then what happened? You saw all those stores go out. Now we're entering into the 1990s through really 2010. And what happened in our communities? You know, I grew up in Lansing, so I get it. I'm right here. What happened? Walmart came about, the small little Kmart eventually went down. And what do we have? We have this new box store, right? Costs went down because it was more efficient. You know, think about it, some of the stores were gone, but it was that Walmart effect, meaning it was the behemoth store that came from it. But then starting in 2010 to 2015, we even saw further growth. Business became a little different and the behemoth companies were being questioned because customers were starting to become dissatisfied. But what was interesting is, I don't know about you, but around here, Myers came around that area and I call that a behemoth store. But nevertheless, we saw, and many of you have individual or smaller businesses and you see the start of the return of them. Then we get in 2015 to 2020, and at that point in time, customers are starting to demand more personal attention. I don't know about you, but when I'm practicing law all these years, and remember I started in the late 80s, so I'm seeing it. You know, when I started law school, one person had a laptop. Now, you know, it's all over the place and you can't survive. Even our little kids have computers and they know it better than us. Let's all face it, right? But nevertheless, more attention became to the personal and people started demanding more. And I see that in my own practice, meaning that people changed. People, it wasn't that big behemoth model they were going to, maybe even in law, going to a larger firm. Smaller firms were becoming the new norm, the new path, and the consumers were starting to fight back and revolt a little bit, even though we still have this balance between the large stores and the small stores. But I don't know about you, I'd rather go to a small store and a local business and try to support them in many instances. But then 2020 comes in and we've got a brand new era. And I would argue to all of you that this is now the age of personalized service. It is an uncertain future. I think all of you would agree on the future of brick and mortar. And if you have a small store, you're there and that's good because you got a small store, but doing a behemoth space or expanding in that way, it's probably not going to happen. Even in my own practice, if you would have asked me in January, I was trying to look to see if I could negotiate to get the third unit because I wanted to do programs there and I had a dream that we could expand. If you ask me today, my answer is I'm never expanding again. Not happening. Why? Because I think that things have changed. And I'm going to talk about that a little further. And I think that the personalized service is now the demand. So what is this pivot and reset we have to do? We have an increase in virtual. Obviously, I do virtual consults. I'm sure many of you meet with clients virtually or customers or consumers. And we have to align our customers' needs to an infinite range of products and opportunities by collaborating with each other. I also think that the pandemic is going to require us to work a little closer together. You know, I'm thinking about it. If one person provides a restaurant type food and another is a bakery or they have dessert or somebody else has a different form of company, we're all going to have to think about working differently and maybe working together to demand and to meet that demand of the new consumer. There's an argument to be made in some literature that's talking about that from 2025 to 2030, we're going to see the era of fast delivery where choice is unlimited. If we think it's unlimited now, there's an argument to be made that it'll be more unlimited, and we have to have insight into that customer model. So today, I want to talk about this new age of you come to me. I don't know what you sell. I know some of you, and I don't know others of you, but I think the consumer out there is saying, you come to me. What are you going to do for me? Why should I come to you? Because I think they're asking questions in a different way. And frankly, I think they're saying, you give me choices, you give me control, you work for me, and you do what it is that needs to be done to make it easier for me. So that's where I come from. It's kind of that history. And I think that we have to look at the mindset of the consumer before we can ever get to a point of moving our businesses forward and working collaboratively together going into the future. So I say this is a time of pivoting and resetting. So we have that changing mind of the consumer. We have the changing mindset. Think about elder care. Just take a thought. How many of those poor older adults have passed away? We just heard last night, if you heard about the Veterans Hospital or the Veterans Home and the number of people that passed away. That's going to be a major life change and a major switch. Restaurants, new plan. You know, before you come in, you eat dinner there, maybe you pick it up curbside. Maybe a restaurant needs to think about offering meal planning, helping people out in a different way. It's a new day, guys, and we need to think of ways to adapt. People want to get out for right now. Maybe we're going into stage 4, but are we ever going to return and go down a certain busy street and see those restaurants full to capacity on a regular basis? I would argue it's not going to be the same. It will be for some, but it won't be for others. And if you understand where I'm coming from, you have to have all consumers in your business in order to make it successful. Remote date nights, remote healthy meals, remote keto. These are things I'm reading about. Team up and collaborate to bring us back to a point where we can service people in a new way, I would argue. Price points and cost of sale have to be considered, and we have to have a higher range of branding. So these are my overall observations. How are we going to implement it? So I looked at the different phases of implementation, and I wanted to go through those and then get your comments as well to learn from you. The first one I think we're all seeing is this concept of hoteling. Think about all those high rises downtown. Do we really think they already had a rent crisis? Do we think everybody's just going to get on the local train car and go downtown? First of all, they're only going to be at a certain capacity. And secondly, I know of many large companies and many law firms that are competitors are saying, we're getting rid of our office space, or we're not going to expand it anymore. We're going to engage in hoteling. What is hoteling? You take your computer with you. You might plug in at a desk. You might share a desk and be some days in the office and other days at home, because there's a whole new concept. And this working remotely, I think we've all now experienced it. Again, had you asked me in January, would you allow your staff to work from home? My answer would be, no way. We wouldn't be as productive. Yet today, we bought all new computers for everybody at home. We got a new cloud-based server to go to our others. Couldn't believe I made an investment. And now I think our efficiency is getting to the point where it's better for us to work at home in some regards than to be at the office. And clearly, we need to shift that around. Some days, some people in as we go into the next phase, and some people not in at certain days. I think that's going to be a major change. Also, when you look at environmental concerns, look at the reports. Less people. How many times have you guys been in your car and it took you an hour to get someplace? Then it took you an hour to get home, and you wasted all that time. Will you ever get that time back? I drove for years and commuted. I'll never get those years back. Years is what I say when I look at the number of times I was in the car if you were commuting 3 hours a day. These are new ways to look at it. Instead of looking at this negatively, I'm looking at it positively and saying, maybe we need to pivot and reset how we're approaching things. The second issue relates to hoteling, and I've already started on, is this concept of space and capacity. Social distancing is going to be in place. We have to look out for a second wave. Are we going to go into a 5th wave only when we get a vaccination? How many people are going to get that vaccine? How long is it going to take? These are all things we have to do. And so we really have to look at shifting our normal frames of operation into what we're going to do for space and capacity. Same thing is true if you have a corner store, you own a restaurant, or you own a business where people have to come in and out. I think we all have to rethink that space. Where are we going to have deliveries made? How are we going to make people feel comfortable? Because even if you're one of those who says, oh, maybe it's not as much of a concern for me. And I just talked to somebody this morning and they said, you know, it's so interesting. Some people are really worried about the pandemic yet, and some people say, oh, it's no big deal. But we still have customers on both sides of the equation. And I would offer to you that you have to come up with a way to deal with both and service both, because it's a genuine concern and you have to be able to tap into that. So I think we have to look at space and capacity different. The third thing I think we have to deal with is considering fear factors. You know, we can say it's over. We can say Illinois is doing great, which, by the way, I'm quite proud to read the statistics versus other states. However, at the end of the day, both employees and our clients and our customers are fearful. And we have to address that. We can't just push it under the carpet and think things are going to go back to normal. So how are you going to protect your image with it? And I'm going to give an example of local restaurants. You go up to a local restaurant and they're all wearing masks and gloves, but half of the teenagers working there have the mask pulled down and it's on their chin and they're not wearing it, okay? Or I ordered a pizza the other day and I said, make sure that the driver has masks and gloves, and this is the process we're gonna do. We're gonna call, we're gonna open the garage door, you leave it on the back of the red car. Guess what? Person appeared, came to the wrong door, no mask, no gloves. I called the place and they're like, how can we get these people to comply with our request? This was the manager talking to me saying, I'm so frustrated because I can't even get the employees to comply. And then he was apologetic, and it ended up costing that business another trip out. And I felt sorry for them in many ways as a leadership person, because I know that's their policy. That's why I ordered from them. So if you're a small business, you got to think about that. How is it that you're going to get people to really comply? Because it's going to be your image. So you don't want to put an image out there that you're going to wear masks and gloves and then have somebody with it halfway off. That's a problem. And on the flip side of it, you also have to deal with the people who aren't as concerned about it. So we have to be creative. How do we deal with PPE? How do we deal with the hand sanitizer issue? How much can you expect of people coming in your door? Like, for example, we posted a door. If you don't want to wear a mask here, then please don't enter. We'll accommodate you in some other way, via Zoom, or you can drop off your documents, but you're just not going to be able to permit it to come in. I don't think that's unreasonable. I think we have to be honest and upfront with who's coming in and what we're going to do as well. But we can't leave that aside. There are fears out there that are legitimate. Let's not forget the number of people that are ill in the country. Let's not forget the number of people who passed away. And I get it. Some people are saying, we're done, we want to move on. But you can't forget 1/2 of that population within that struggle. The fourth area I think we get into is what I call change in service options. I think it's really interesting that this pandemic, and you guys tell me if you think that this is comparable, but Kelly and I did an interview with somebody who's disabled, a quadriplegic, and you know what they said to us? Now everybody in the world knows how it feels for me on a daily basis. Wow. And boy, did that sink in. You talk about service, and now they're wanting different service options. So maybe we have to have a new empathy with the disabled. You know, there was a local place that said, well, we're no longer going to do curbside drop-offs to your vehicle because we're too busy. So I remember somebody saying, well, what do you do with the disabled? Because you can't just leave that aside. And we all have to be sensitive to that and deal with that from a new perspective. So is it curbside that you have to add? Is it drive-through? Even if you're selling products, you know, in law school, we call them widgets, whatever it is you sold. Do we have to all offer it? Do we have to have a delivery service? For example, in Illinois, you guys know you can do notaries over Zoom now. And so the governor has responded to it. We have many things in place in order to do it. What do you have to do in your business to be able to service people at a new level? Do you have to add at-home delivery? Do you have to have at-home service for your long-term customers? I would argue we have to think outside of the box. Make these permanent changes, because if you don't, you're going to lose some of your consumers out there, some of your customers, and then that's going to ultimately hurt you. The next thing I would argue is we have to deal differently in what we call product and service development. Product and service development. At our firm, we're doing remote consults. Never before did I ever imagine that I would meet somebody. I always wanted to see them. I wanted to measure, look at them, etc. Even the courts are doing Zoom court appearances now. What do you have to do via Zoom? What do you have to add? Do you have to have computer stations at your location? You have to make it available, because you have to change the way you approach. Another argument I would make is, you would ask me in January, when it came to Saturday and Sunday, I'm not meeting with a client, that's my weekend. Guess what, guys? Now, Saturday and Sunday, I'm available. We'll call you back. Somebody's on call 7 days a week, because it's now a new age, and it's the age of the consumer. And I have to tell you, if they're not going to get service by you, they're going to go find somebody else, because there's somebody out there that's going to do it. And I get a lot of us have religious obligations, church obligations on Sunday, but you got to creatively come up with a way. And what we've done at our firm is put somebody on call, so that at least people are getting a call back to say, we can service you. Let's set up a time. Here's your initial paperwork. So whatever it is you do, you have to come up with, in my opinion, a new model of doing it. For very small businesses within the same context, it was very interesting to me setting up a second means of income. We have a friend who we've been acquainted with for years. She ran a business as a caterer. And you know what she said? In 2019, she added another delivery service of food for the average consumer. And all I heard her say on our Zoom meetings was, thank the good Lord I added that second source of income. Because today, she's able to survive, because there's not too many parties of large groups, right, getting her catering, but her other side of the business picked up. So as small businesses and as individuals and consumers, figuring out a second means of income really has to be what we do. We have to think outside of the box and come up with another way that you can do it. For those who are selling services, add a product. And for those of you who sell a product, add a service. And it's not that difficult because the pandemic has forced us to think in new ways. Imagine, I'm sure all of you would answer how you never thought you would have done the things you've done in the last 3 months for your business, but now you have, and it's not that bad. So we just have to think about things differently. And I think that that's an important structure to go forward. The next concept I want to talk about is marketing. Well, I don't know about you guys, but in the suburbs in Orland Park, Tinley Park, Frankfurt, all those areas, did you know they lost their local paper? It closed up days into the pandemic. Gone forever. That's where people marketed. A lot of people ran ads there. We had a contract for an ad. We did a different presentation. We would do different things. Well, guess what? That's gone. And many people say that print industry is going to be gone in a lot of major towns and a lot of other areas. So typical advertising, I would argue to all of you, is out the door. So what do we have to do now? I would argue that we have to gauge our behaviors of the demographics and who we reach in our community. And I would also argue that in today's society with 47 million people at totality applying for unemployment, that necessity is key, not luxury. Let me say that again, necessities versus luxuries. How is it that you can take your own individual product, make it a price point where it's affordable, and turn it into a necessity? Because it is necessary for some people. All of us have different requirements, but you really have to think about that necessity element when you're dealing with marketing. I would also argue that you have to change the message of your marketing to needs over wants. Go back to 2019. There were a lot of products out there. I want that, right? I want that purse. I want that product. I want it for myself. Now it's a question, do I need it? And how is it that you're going to impose and develop something that's very practical? And you know what? Each one of us can do that. And I would argue that's a new way of thinking. Digital is now permanent, and it's the way to go. It was already prominent before the pandemic, but now, while people were confined and they'll continue to do different things, they're concerned in some cases about a second wave, and they're used to it. So instead of waiting to put your flowers online, I'm going to give you a Mother's Day example. Call the local place, get my mom, 90 years old, a flower today. Okay. However, she's allergic to flowers, so it has to be in silk. So I said, send me a picture. Well, we don't have any pictures of the silk. I said, what are you guys doing? We're in the middle of a pandemic. I can't come to the store. Take a picture and send it to me. I don't know if I can do that. So they ended up describing it. And I said to them at the end of the call, isn't it high time you went around your store with somebody, take a picture of everything, put it online, put a price on it, let people see it, and you'd be surprised what'll happen, because digital is the way to go. And many of us haven't done it. It was too much money. It was too much time. I'll tell you, we didn't do it. We didn't do the same level. We did a lot of digital, but we didn't do the same level. Now we blog every day. We weren't doing that before. Now we do different things. So what is it in your business that you can pivot and reset to try to change what's happening? The other thing I would argue within this context is that we have to start engaging through emotional contact, connections with people. They are in a certain state. People are in various states. They need to be reached where they are. And we have to emotionally grab onto them and give them that fulfillment. And if we can do that as a marketing strategy going over, how many more people won't you engage with? So a catalog, a booklet of what you have to offer, or considering many ways you can expand your offerings are really good things. And my last comment is, I have never seen the Chambers of Commerce and the local business associations, and I'm going to give a plug to everybody, never before have I seen the level of usefulness I have seen from them in the last 3 to 4 months. Why? I'm continually going. I want to know about the CARES Act. I want to know what's going on with SBA. I want to know what the government's doing. I want a perspective from a local official. What are they seeing? What are they doing? And the chambers have really, and the local business associations, stepped up to the plate, and they're offering things to us, which is content that we need. And I know we did a lot of ribbon cuttings before, and we did a lot of social gatherings. We've done a lot of different things, and I truly appreciate everything that was done in the past. But what I can tell you is it's a new day, and continue to keep that content out, because I've never been as enriched. I actually get one chamber sends at between 5 and 6, they send the daily update of everything that's within that context, and they say what's going on. And then they give you links. And I'm on it every day. I wait for that email because I want to know, what do I need to change? What do I need to know today? And I think that that is so important. And somebody just put in here that the Shopper and the Lansing Journal are still here and printing for your advertising. That's great. I think that's wonderful to know. I did not know all of that, but I'm saying to you, that's great, but we need to add that on, and I appreciate everybody what they're doing there. The next thing I want to talk about within that context is the chamber's continuing on, but then moving on to what are we going to do with employees? Now, employment issues are a whole new day. Before, you wouldn't dare ask somebody if they were immune compromised, right? Be a violation. And today, it's almost an expectation. You're going to take your temperature when you're walking in. You go to the doctor's office, they're going to take your temperature. Would they have done it before? No way. So it's been a real interesting, and again, this is where the chambers have come in. You know, we have new rights and responsibilities under the CARES Act. And keep in mind, the CARES Act is now in place until December 31st. So if you have somebody with small children at home, yeah, it's not over, it's there. And you've got the federal laws somewhat in conflict with the state laws. So a lot of employers are looking to the governor's orders and looking at those orders alone. And I would offer you really got to pay attention, because sometimes the federal laws are extending much further. In that context, you have to offer certain sick time, as we all know. You have to offer certain accommodations to be able to work at home. You also have to defend yourself as an employer and say, you got to do work. If you're going to work at home because you got to watch your small kids, you got to work, you got to produce something. You can't just sit there and do that. But we can now do flexible hours. There are things that were developed through that. So understanding as an employer all the employees' rights and obligations are really important too. I've heard a lot of fears from employees, and I've also experienced the most strange experience of my life in terms of what I considered to be the strong people are now the people having a hard time adjusting to working at home. And the people that I thought were quieter at the office, my gosh, they're kicking butt now that they're working from home. And it's so interesting to see the different personalities, and we have to think about that going forward and how we're going to deal with that. And loyalty of the employees also has become an issue for some. You know, you have to have loyalty to the cause and what that business stands for and what that business is doing. And there has to be some loyalty to the business, because sometimes people are out for themselves. And I think there's a new day. And I have some friends who said, you know, I had a manager in place and I'm no longer going to have them in a manager capacity after the pandemic because of X, Y, or Z. And I think we have to reevaluate what we're looking for as business owners and how to approach that in various ways. And then you have to balance. And that's really balancing all of this confidentiality issues, which in the past you wouldn't have asked, with what we're doing today, and how are we going to pivot and move forward and be fair and just to everybody involved. And I think we have to talk about that in the context of those employment issues. Let's go to the next one, because it's about the employees, but I don't know about you, a lot of us have financial concerns, right? What you made in January and what you made last November may not have been what you made in March, April, May, and maybe June you're picking up, but it's not where it was before. So I think we all have to take a new perspective on it. We have to deal with the reality of what it takes, meaning what are our core expenses? How can we get a loan? How can we get a grant? How can we deal with that? And how should we measure those ideas and concepts? The additional issue is, if you're in a very small business, how long are you going to stay in that business before you're going to walk away or repivot and reset? Because if you don't, my argument is that there's going to be a fear, because it's going to take us a long time to completely bounce back from what we've experienced. My next tip for all of you is be very careful about personal guarantees. The nice thing about some of the loans that came out in the PPP was that you didn't have to personally guarantee. But there's a whole lot of other programs that are coming. The state and local programs are great as well, but do not sign a personal guarantee unless you're prepared and your family's prepared for the consequence of that. So I give that as a warning to watch out for that. Also, while you're in this business capacity, you're putting an investment into the future. How do you balance your family commitment with your business commitment? Because it is a balance. Let's not forget that it is, and you got to be sensitive to it. You really have to open your eyes about the reality of those finances and the reality of that consequence. And the last one is our most valuable asset in many cases can be our credit. So don't forget your credit rating, how you're dealing with it, and your ability to pay within that context as well. It's real important to do all of those. But the last one I would argue is, let's all think about how we can give back. Because we can all perform, we can all work, we can all be successful, but if we don't give back and give to each other and give to the causes that we endorse, our work is in vain. Because I believe that if you bless someone else, you will be blessed 7 times over. But if you don't, and you make this all about you, and you go in your hole and you only look outside for what's good for you, you're going to walk out of this pandemic in worse condition than ever. But if we can gather together, find the causes that we can support, find out how we can embrace this new era, work together differently, I really think that we can come out of the pandemic with new ways and new important means of going forward. So what skills do we need to all do all of this? First of all, we all need to walk away, and this is my last category, with a new set of skills. We have to know new computer skills. Let me tell you, we just got Adobe Pro at our office, and my staff's ready to kill me because they got to learn all this new stuff. And I've decided I'm going to get a project management system. But the time is now. Hone in on your skills, because that's what's going to be important to move forward. The other thing is, replace all those old meetings that you used to have by email, instant messaging, video chat. Try to use time in a better way. What all haven't we learned about time management during this? Next issue is, what'd you do for business travel? Is that business trip really necessary, or can you save time in another way? The fourth thing is, what about your office or your business location? Is an elaborate conference center only? Do you have to have a space for everybody? Can you work remotely? Reconsider those. Next, what are you going to do to keep the health of your employees safe and a priority? 6, how do you maintain your coworkers being closer than ever? 7, the standard 9 to 5 in the old business world, it's gone, guys. It's over. And it's good that it's over, because it doesn't work for everybody. And we have to be inclusive in how we deal with people. Home office stipends, is that what you need to do? It's another consideration. Many would argue that the workplace for women in particular is better now because women at home with small children couldn't get ahead. I worked at an old-time law firm at one point. If you weren't there on Saturdays and showed up, you were viewed as negatively. Now, it doesn't matter if you're there or not. If you got production and you can prove your worth, that's all you need to do, guys. And I think we have to look at that from a different perspective. Next, middle management may need to go. Maybe we don't need all those middle managers, right? We can work in a whole new way. So how can you accelerate or automate what you do on a daily basis? How can we close the digital divide and make it more of a norm? And how within this structure do we deal with the myth of the work-life balance? Maybe there's a term, more flexibility, more openness, more diverseness. Let's approach it from a different way. And maybe we can pivot, reset, and gain. Let's gain from this pandemic and not make it this horrible news it once was, because there's things we can do differently. So I wanted to take this opportunity to express how we're doing it. I'm going to pass it to Kelly. She's going to talk about it. And I would like to go around the room and I'll look through the chat to see if there's any specific questions. But I want to hear from you. And if you don't want to participate, that's fine. But I really want to hear, what ideas do you have? Because learning from each other and through these types of events is key. So Kelly, get us started. Tell us what we're doing differently. And then let's go from there and go around to all our guests and learn from each other.
Yeah, so those of you who aren't familiar with us, I know that Blevian had introduced. So we, throughout the years, have built an extensive and elaborate resource center in our office for clients. So it's important for us to be not only just to provide legal assistance for people, but to also provide outsourced resources and to provide information that can help people in various aspects of their lives. So when this pandemic hit, and kind of my role had to take a big shift because I do all the business development and marketing. We're not able to go to the networking events and go out and meet people anymore. We decided to start taking information we have, one from our own staff members, but also from some of our resources, to put content out for people to help them through various pieces that are going through during this pandemic. We've been putting blogs out, articles. We've recorded some videos with some of our resources just to share throughout our channels. We've been posting them on YouTube, on our website, on Facebook as well, just to try to help people just accommodate us. We've touched on everything from insurance, financial planning. We're working on, mental health pieces, how to help your children, just different things like that. So, I'm looking forward to meet some of you I do know on here, and I'm looking forward to perhaps meeting some more of you to see what your particular, role can do to help, and then help promote you, and then we can get some word out to people as well. So I'll throw our information in the chat, and then I'm also recording this meeting so we can put it out for people who may not have been able to attend. So I'll make sure I get that information over to Blevian, and then I will also be putting it on our Facebook. So I look forward to those of you I haven't met in person, even if we have to do it through Zoom right now and one day meet in person, but I look forward to connecting with more of you guys.
All right, so Blevian, you want to lead and go around, because I want to learn from everybody else. You're muted.
Starts with me.
There we go. Hi. Okay. So yes, one of the things that we've been doing as the business association was, of course, we have several members, and with those members being paid members, dues and so forth, we can't just sit on our hands and not do anything to give them a service. Because again, as you know, and everybody on this call knows, it's goods and services. So one of the ways that we adjusted was to come across thinking of how can we provide that. We were supposed to do an expo in March, and that's right when everything got put down and shut down. And one of our chair people over our expo committee suggested that we do a virtual expo. And it turned out extremely well. It's on our Facebook page, but we were able to promote several vendors that way and be able to let them be featured so that we can still promote them during that time. And of course, next year, we'll just say that they're a guaranteed vendor for the next expo. So that way they've got their money, but they've also been promoted. And with that being said, it was more of a thing of, well, if we could do an expo that's virtual, we could do a luncheon that's virtual. So being able to bring on great speakers like yourself, Gwen, and providing information that's pertinent and relevant right now to people and things that they need to know. It's about bringing the people to the table who really can get those questions answered. We had Alex and Felicia Houston who actually did our last luncheon, but again, you're talking about qualified people who know what needs to be done. So I appreciate all the speakers that we come, but the virtual and digital way has been the way we've been able to continue with our business association being viable, giving our members what they need. So I don't want to take up more time with that, but I'd like to turn it over to whoever else like to speak.
All right, I'm going to call on people if we're not going to get a volunteer. Go ahead.
I can go.
Perfect.
I'm Mary with the Chicago Southland Convention and Visitors Bureau. Our role and responsibility is to help market and sell the 63 south and southwest suburbs of Chicago to meetings, events, motor coaches, sporting events groups, reunions, social events. So our job is to work with the hotels, the sports venues, the conference facilities, the attractions to bring people into the area. So as everybody knows, that really was affected with the COVID-19 taking place. So we've had to get creative. A lot of our conventions and trade shows that we're attending or supposed to be attending to meet with these meeting planners and events rights holders and tour operators are being canceled and turning into a virtual trade show, which has been great. It's, dedicated time. You have everybody's one-on-one attention. So that's been working really, really well. But we're going to be implementing virtual site inspections. We know people are still planning. They want to have their convention, their sports tournament. Not this year, maybe in the latter part of 2021 and beyond. So we're going to accommodate that. So we're going to go visit the hotels with our iPad, you know, doing the Zoom call. So meeting planners and sporting events rights holders and tour operators can see all of the amenities we have without actually leaving and traveling. So it's safe for them, it's safe for us, but yet we're still doing our role and responsibility to sell and market the Chicago Southland area. And we've been doing very similar. Our updates that have been going out to the restaurants and attractions and the municipalities and hotels have been about the tourism industry. This is what's going on currently right now. We can do 50 people meetings or less, depending on the meeting space capacity. So our job is to really inform our clients and our stakeholders both of what we can do and what we can't do, but what we can't do, we're coming up with alternatives for.
Perfect, thank you. Maria? You're on mute. She's still on mute.
Mute. Okay,
There
can
you
you hear
go.
me?
Hi,
Okay.
Maria.
Hi. My name is Maria Runyon. I'm insurable. I'm an independent Legal Shield associate for many years and also background in insurance. But what I found through this is, number one, I reached out to all my members and all my prospects. You know, a lot of people were hesitant to do that. But what I found is they really appreciated somebody checking in to see how they were doing. You know, overall, how their family was, how if they were using our services, and also, you know, our phone apps and whatever else. And, you know, as you were talking, one of the things that we came up with at the company is it's new normal. It'll never be back that the way it was before, ever. Like 2020, all of these changes that are going on, it's moving forward a new normal. And as a Legal Shield associate, one of the things that our law firms did right away is, with COVID-19, the local, state, and national laws are changing on a daily basis. So they put together a COVID-19 website that updates daily, so families and small businesses can know what is going on, because it's changing daily. So, and then in my past daily activities, I'm a member of several chambers, and typically I go out to businesses and offer our services as an employee benefit. So myself, I'm turning 65 in August. Like, holy crap, when did that happen? So I have learned Zoom, professional, Facebook, professional, LinkedIn, and now coming up Instagram. I had absolutely no idea these things were out there. Like, no clue. Like, that's how people are doing business.
Right, but what a great change, and that's a nice pivot.
Yes, yes.
All right, let's hear from Cheryl on our next line, and then we'll go to Randy. Cheryl, what do you know? Can you tell us what you've been doing different? What can we take away from you?
Well, I've been a corporate yoga teacher for about 16 years, and I was just addressing Andrea's comment in the chat box that I've had to pivot most of my in-person corporate classes as well as studio classes to a virtual. So as you can see, this is my backyard. People love to get out of their home office and into a little bit of nature and work on processing stress, building their resilience, and improving their performance. A lot of my work is done as a volunteer fundraising coordinator for the Yoga Shield, Yoga for First Responders. So I spent the last year translating the techniques I use in yoga with our frontline workers. I've been spending time with fire departments, police departments, doing some work at the Chicago Police Academy, along with medical professionals, reaching out, wanting some proactive tools to how to deal with the daily anxieties. So most of our in-person trainings have been canceled, but fortunately we have a lot of digital tools. Currently I'm working on a fundraising platform that's raising money for a digital tool. We've got an online app that anyone can utilize. Again, it's geared toward frontline workers, but it's available to all. At the click of a button, you can do a 2 to 3 minute breath protocol, get a little better control of your nervous system, manage your comprehension and communicate better, but there's also 10 to 75-minute practices. So it doesn't matter if you know how to do yoga or not, it's something for everyone. So those are some of the tools and techniques that I've been using and that I've been providing that have really actually grown my business since COVID started. And you're exactly right. It's eliminated my 2 and 3 hour commutes that I took to most places, except for a recent fire department gig. And I'm able to provide that much more relief and being asked just about every day for more content.
So Randy, tell us a little bit about what you've been doing.
Well, for us, being a cleaning company, our main thing is education. So once this pandemic, once it started, and of course, a lot of companies, a lot of our customers that we work with, of course, wasn't familiar, and of course, we're learning about it. So the main thing was for them, well, can we help? Can we get more cleaning, as far as having a person come in every quarter of the hour or so many times per day. But in the long term, what was happening is, of course, we try to work with our clients, that can get expensive. So as we started to learn more about the situation, I mean, it was just for us, passing the knowledge on to our customers. Examples, if you have a big space, try not to use the whole space, but mainly operating like I don't know if many of you guys work out in the gym, mainly working out as far as if you use a piece of equipment, just getting the habit of wiping it down before someone else uses. So that's kind of been like the main thing for us. And now that, more products are becoming available as far as what can help with in regards to the spread. So we, offer those products to our clients and just let them know what's available out there.
What's a great service? I mean, you went from a service to a product, right? Really cool.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, our main thing was, of course, we want to work with our clients. We don't want to, I guess, take advantage of the situation as far as just charging you all these different services. Where, hey, these are the things that you can do to kind of help, help your workspace, and as we learn the information, we're going to pass it along to you.
Very good. All right. So we're getting on 12:51. We still have time, don't we, Levine? We're good?
Yes, we do. We have time. There was one person who also mentioned one of the ways that they're changing to pivot. Sabrina Harrell, who's with Logic Legal, she said what they've done differently is email their clients new information and resources that they think may be useful. And that includes utility assistance, tax relief, etc. The response for them has been very well. And people really appreciate knowing that they care enough without any strings attached. But a lot of times in long term, that actually generates more business and referrals for you.
Sure. That's a great statement. Okay, let's go to Alexandra.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Or am I muted? Okay, wasn't sure. So I'm wearing a couple of hats here today, that of working for the college. So for South Suburban, but I don't work in the credit side. I work in the non-credit side, where we go into companies and organizations to provide any type of training and consultation services that they need. And my specialty is all the professional development training. So it's conflict resolution, customer service, those types of things. Since our job was always to be with the company in their space, we can't do that right now. So everything that we had scheduled in the fall, including our women's conference, or not in the spring, had to be canceled. Students are not coming back in the fall either. They're going to be online as well. So we're going to remote learning, and it's got its challenges. But the business and career side of things, we're really going to be jumping in on these types of webinars and things. We're in the process of putting one together for individuals that are looking to open a business during the pandemic. they're not sure if they should, and we've got an expert who's going to talk about that. We're going to do one given the George Floyd situation and Black Lives Matter and those very, very important milestones. We're going to be putting together a curriculum on unconscious bias in the workplace, and diversity, and how you can create a culture of inclusion, except, God bless you, whoever that is. Diversity and inclusion and acceptance and all of that. We're going to be doing some work with the generations in the workforce, how we can get the generations, because there's been very different reactions to the pandemic based on your generation. On some level, I think the older ones, like the baby boomers, may have a little bit of an emotional edge over the younger group. You know, but the younger groups have an edge over us in terms of technology. So, you know, how do we kind of navigate those waters? And then the one thing I was back and forth with Kelly a little bit, my past life is that of a clinician, but I'm still a licensed clinical professional counselor, certified alcohol and drug counselor, all that stuff I still have. And I'm very passionate about what COVID has done to the emotional well-being of everybody. I am very, very concerned about people. I'm concerned about their well-being. Depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder diagnoses are becoming very alarming. These numbers are staggering, and people are struggling with how to cope. And I want to provide a place for them to talk about you mentioned, Gwen, you mentioned the fear factors earlier. That needs to be discussed. That needs to be brought into businesses. How do you take care of the emotional needs of your employees, especially if you're a business that doesn't have an employee assistance program? You know, and most businesses don't. A lot of companies don't have that. They can't afford it. And so what are we doing for these individuals? So, and I'm, like I said, very passionate about that, and want to put a webinar actually together to address specifically the emotional well-being and what you can do to take care of yourself.
Really good point. Let's move on to Connie. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
I was just going to say, Felicia and I did that back in May. Felicia Houston and I did that back in May, but I'm feeling so strong that it needs to be an ongoing discussion, a one-time thing in May, you know, and it needs to be with a wider audience. So I really want to look at expanding it more. So we're going digital these days. So you're going to see a lot more of us on Zoom and offering Zoom trainings and webinars and things like that. And we're also we don't want to have to ask people to pay. You know, people are struggling right now. Businesses are struggling, and we don't want to ask people to pay. So we're looking for sponsors to sponsor some of these webinars that we're doing. So if anybody's interested in having your company be a sponsor, I would love to talk to you about that. Just let me know.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, Connie.
Hi there. How do we get a hold of Alexandra?
You can email. You know what? I'll put my email address and my phone number in the chat box.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks. I'm Connie with HVAC Masters, and we're one of the few that were not affected. But when we did have a couple of downtime, we did do service work. We went out to the community and we found different places that needed assistance, and we jumped in there. But we've had it going. We have the masks, the gloves, the standard things going on. But after that, we've been doing good. Sorry.
No, that's great. These are ideas. So, all right, Erica. And then we'll move to Joyce, so we know.
Oh, there she goes.
So, yeah, things have been absolutely crazy around here because I own the place now. The financial solution to continuing to do the paper was for Arlo to sell myself and my publisher, or my editor, the paper. cut down staff, cut down on overhead, and we've been doing well. The businesses that have always been with us continue to stay with us. The community has been amazing. We had to shut down for 3 weeks while we tried to figure out, what was going to happen, and, working on the transition of the
Speak a
business.
little louder, Erica.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. But we get phone calls every day, are you printing again? I haven't gotten my shop, or are you, people want us, they want to see us, and businesses are, responding well and staying, and our regulars are staying with us. So hopefully, I'm still kind of wary about, where to go and, how to prospect and get out to see businesses, because like, who wants me, just walking into their business right now? So it's kind of that, so right now we're just trying to maintain our relationships with the people we have relationships with, and just keep trucking every day.
Good.
Yeah.
All right,
Hey,
Joyce.
Gwen,
Yes.
can you call on Felicia Houston real quick, because she's always got something really positive and great to bring to the
Felicia
table.
is always positive. Felicia, hi, how are you today?
I'm good, Gwen. How are you?
I'm great. Let's hear from you.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Felicia, and I'm from Chicago Medicine at Ingalls with the Department of Psychiatry. And I would say that during this time, we have pivoted. So I've had to go into the hospital, still go into the hospital, wear the mask, gloves, and all that great stuff. But as far as digital, all of my workshops and speaking engagements, I was still able to do digitally. So we're on Zoom right now, but I learned about Zoom. I've learned about Microsoft Teams. I think I've learned about 7 different platforms, and it's been a great thing to be able to talk to people about the emotional effect of this. Like, I had a call last week, and it was amazing because we talked about the emotional side of COVID-19. So we're in a health pandemic, economic crisis, and then we have the racial tension. So to talk about all 3 of those in settings has been amazing. As far as Professional Women's Network, we had an event last week on a Zoom, which turned out phenomenal, where we talked about racial injustice and privilege. And next month, we're going to do one on how to deal with that in the workplace. So it's been an awesome time, and a lot of people are saying that they prefer the online version, because if you do have some of these uncomfortable conversations in person, people may not be so open to share. So it's been great. I've been busy as heck. So like tomorrow, I just took a PTO day tomorrow because I'm tired. So
good to hear from you, Felicia.
Thank you, Gwen. Thank you, Bolivian.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Joyce, if that's okay.
Yes.
Hi, Joyce.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joyce L. Kelly, and I, like Alexandria, I'm wearing 2 hats. And I'm representing the South Suburban Small Business Association on this call. And we decided early on in March that as a business organization, we wanted to have a presence during this time. And so what also happened coincidentally was that I connected with Vicki Brown, who's also on the call, and she shared with me that there was a partnership going on, South-Southwest partnership, that was coming together to do things in the Southland. And so I've been a part of that group, and it's been through that group that the South Suburban Small Business Association has been able to send out the latest cutting edge information to all of our membership as soon as it came out concerning funding and the latest with the CDC and just all organizations that were involved in assisting businesses during this time. So we were able to send out emails twice a week to stay connected with our membership. And on a personal level, I am an investment advisor representative. So I'm licensed with insurance, but also with security. So that involves finances. And what I've done on a personal level is I've connected with prospects and clients to talk with them about their finances, because my feeling is so many people were not prepared financially for what happened. And that was one of the reasons why so many people individually needed to reopen the economy quickly, because the Social Security benefits weren't coming through quickly, but they just weren't prepared. So it was my goal to help people to prepare better post-COVID-19 than they were before. So I started doing Zoom meetings one-on-one, where I had these six steps on the path to financial freedom. We talked about each of the steps so they could locate where they were and then do better the next time, because it's not a matter of if we'll have another crisis of some kind, it's just a matter of when. And so that's what I've set out to do on a personal level, to just help people have a different mindset about your finances, because you're going to need to, you will have to, you've got to adjust how you see your monies. And having an emergency fund,
Critical.
keeps you from stressing out during times like this.
Very
It does.
helpful.
Well, Gwen, we are coming up, or we're just a little past the hour, but you have been fantastic, phenomenal, with everything that you've talked about, the information you've shared, and the fact that everyone on the Zoom call has had a chance to put in some information about what it is that they do and how they've pivoted and reset their businesses to make it work for them. So I really, really appreciate that. And I couldn't go on without also thanking my chamber partners, everyone who was on here to help make this happen. So kudos out to you guys as well. So if there's anything you'd like to close out with, Gwen, please do.
We didn't get to hear from everybody, and I'm sorry about that, because we kind of lose track of time, and that happens. But if you want to put something in the chat, we're going to leave it open for a period of time so that you can add stuff. And if you have something you'd like to share, we also put in our website, and Kelly will add our phone number, and we can share and get, if we have a list of the attendees, we can then get that information, and we'll share all of that with you and get the link so that everybody can watch it. And I really appreciate everybody's time today, because I do think that I've learned a lot. It's very interesting about the mental health, what you're doing to educate. These are things that we all have to learn from each other. So I want to give a final invite to all of you. If there is something that you're doing that you think that you can be of assistance to us to put on a blog, to do an interview about what you're doing, please reach out to us. We are looking to partner with you and to move forward in the most positive way we can. So we want to hear from you, and we appreciate all the time that you gave us today and for allowing us to share. And let's all think of this as we leave in a positive way. There's positive, life-changing episodes that have come from this. People are suffering, but we have a duty and responsibility to respond, and we can make it a positive experience. So thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, we do. Thank you so much. And additional thanks to Cassandra Griffin, who's my person who does all my articles when we do these particular type of events and so forth. If anybody's looking for someone who's a fantastic writer, content writer, and attend your events and just do a great article, call Cassandra Griffin. Cassandra, make sure you post in the chat your email so that people can contact you, or your phone number, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
All right, have a good one. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.